Well, they fucking Australia.
They've got to let them in the country. The UN law says...
They had to send them home, yeah, to be treated like you were a foreigner or whatever, you know what I mean? Yeah, they had to send them home.
I'll tell you, you want to know how stupid the law is? King William IV created a law in 1828 that no member of the Saxe-Coburg family, the royal family of Germany, was allowed to sit on the British throne. Okay? Queen Victoria married Albert of Saxe-Coburg.
Did anyone read in the paper today where they had guys suing the New South Wales police for $400,000?
No.
They came into his house over domestic violence. His missus wasn't in the house. The woman had left. He told the coppers, he literally told them to fuck off, to get out of his house. He swore, abused and cursed and told them to get out. They ended up charging him, arresting him, probably taking him to the station. He sued them. That $400,000 suit is going to stand.
Yeah, that's
It went to the High Court.
So these things are happening among the people. We're sick of this fucking bullshit that the courts and that are put down on us, which is all totally illegally, which Mark will show you before your eyes.
You know? Let's extrapolate that out then. And there's also freedom of information coming out. There's all this stuff coming out. All the chickens are coming home to roost. There's going to be lots of things to sue for soon. So it seems like the people are going to end up suing the government into being broke. What's going to happen then? Like, I reckon this is going to happen. There's going to be so many people suing the government.
Well, they'll stop doing human rights, you know what I mean? They'll stop fucking with the people. They'll do the right thing, right? Or they'll get sued to shit out of it.
So how are they going to pay? They're going to go broke. They won't
collapse the system. They are broke already.
They have to change. They have to change in time.
My comprehension is this: England, all the Commonwealth countries come under the one law, basically, Admiralty law, right? So basically, and the Admiralty law, my comprehension is all owned by the IMF, the money. So they're the ones, Australia, America, or the US, I should say US, is bankrupt. They're just waiting to call in the quits. So, you know, the Australian government's just about down the gurgler anyway. You know.
What's the situation with this money that the World Bank is set up with? You were talking, Mark, about the
UCC?
The start, formation of the World Bank and the maturity of a fund.
Run that by me,
The certificated trust.
The Unified Universal Code.
No, there's something else. I know where he's going. What happened was that in the 30s, the British Parliament established a fund because they knew that sooner or later they're going to get their bum sued, right? By the indigenous peoples of the countries that they invaded. Now that money was put into an account, and when there come time to set up the World Bank, the people establishing the World Bank needed unsecured funds. And the only unsecured funds of an amount sufficient to do the job was the monies in the trust account established for the indigenous peoples of Australia and the Pacific Islands. At a ceremony at Uluru, or Mutijulu rather, on about the 8th of August last year, there was a symbolic handing back of a spear and a mirror. And what that represented was the return to the elders there. One of the elders, who was about 95, as soon as he saw the spear, knew what it was. Because the spear originally, about 70 odd years ago, originated from Uluru, and he was there when the ceremony took place back then. The trustee to the funds now, who lives in Sydney, he's married, but he lives in Sydney. He's about another month or so, he's moving back to New Zealand because he has to complete what he's got to do over there now. On the 30th of June next year, this particular fund matures, and in August last year, early August last year, we gave notice to the Commonwealth government and the New Zealand government and the Pacific Island governments and the British Parliament that we want the money from that fund to be paid in bullion as required by the agreement on the 30th of June next year. Now, for the Aboriginal people of Australia, there is currently a shade over $9 trillion US.
I'm just coming to get at the status there.
Yeah, there's a shade over $9 trillion.
But they haven't got the data. There's no way they can pay them. But by law they have. So what happens?
Why do you think the shutters went through the money See, it's like what they're doing in America now. They're actually collapsing the American dollar now, so that they can introduce the new currency, the Ameri. You've heard about the North American? That's what that's about.
That's with Canada, though. You were talking about Commonwealth law and so forth. So what happens with Canada being absorbed into America?
Well, ask the Canadian American Indians what they think of it, because they're the people who own the place.
But the US is only 10 square miles, and this is the Canada law and all the rest of it.
Yep.
It's just the 10 square miles that controls the rest of the USA. And the lies and deceit, the Admiralty law, that's where they get the power, just incorporating another. It's just one company taking over another, that's all it is.
How can we most effectively preempt them coming out with some kind of correction to this whole fuck up that they put?
Who owns the government?
We do.
Right.
Because I think on the agenda with this new government, I guess they've already mentioned stuff about
we do own the
Republic
government
argument again and all this sort of stuff.
The what argument?
Like
The Republic.
Republican kind of argument.
They can say what they want. You know, the bottom line is they don't.
So I just wonder how far through they've already got some kind of.
Mate, you know, don't you worry. Type in Rex 84 on Google and see what you come up with.
Which Rex 84?
Yeah. You've heard about that, mate?
It's King 84.
No. The Rex 84?
No.
Camps in the States?
You talking about the Nebraska thing?
No, what they've got in America is 46 of the armed forces bases that were supposed to have been closed down and decommissioned. They've actually turned into detention camps.
Oh, yeah.
With gas chambers.
Yeah. And Gunderson Steel's been contracted to make 1,200 railway cars with 126 sets of shackles in each. And they can transport 1.5 million people in.
So what makes you think that
That's
all this court action that you're going through can succeed? It sounds like they've got the jump on us.
Well, I'll ask you a question. How many people are there in Australia, for example?
21 million.
How many soldiers are there?
Yeah, but most people, they don't actually want to know what you were talking about. You know,
I'll tell you what
you were talking about.
I'm quite sure that even if John Howard had a gun pointed to his troll's head, he would rally on. Simple as that, bro. It's as simple as that.
Speaking as a black person from this country, what's our alternative?
That's it.
Yeah.
What's our alternative?
Yeah.
We've seen other countries. We've seen we're passive people, and we're very fucking patient. That's one thing we've got going for us. You know, some of us younger mob, I've seen my older mob, very patient, very patient. Some of us younger mob, like I know when I was young, I wanted it fucking now, and I wanted it, quickly. So these next ones coming along, so we have to show them an alternative. I don't want my mob picking up a gun or kids.
No.
I think people can live in this country in peace, that we will never do to them what has been done to us.
Yeah.
Not in this country.
We just got to remember
that.
the only
so with this country going to a fuck up, or its armies and guns and no solution, or if there was no way out, we might as well go and fucking end ourselves now. I think this is an alternative through their own system. We as Aboriginal people have known from day one, this is bullshit. This alternative is this system doesn't, I will never belong to it, I don't fit into it. For the white fellas, I don't know whatever chance I hope for them. Maybe this is a chance and I hope for you. We've always known as black people, we came from a different system. That was different. When everything fucked up, we hoped it would just go away again.
If you want to see how seriously they're taking some of what we're doing.
How do you spell that Rex? Is it REX?
REX, Rex 84. When I took them on in casino, I challenged the magistrate as to a jurisdiction. I said, man, this is a British court, number one. Well, the first thing I did, I refused to go past the fence. When they called me, they said, Mr. Mark McMurtrie. I said, my name's Mark McMurtrie, but no, Mr. I'm a sovereign person, and I'm not coming into your jurisdiction until you understand that I'm coming into your court to argue the allegations that have been made against me on the basis of lack of jurisdiction, blah, blah, blah. And she played up a bit, but she ultimately got. So I'm not coming. Remember, I understand. This here's land, that's a ship. Okay? I understand it. Right? As soon as I said that, it was straight away. They didn't want me to say too much more in the court.
They
Because of the public gallery.
Yeah, they don't like that. They ship stuff or
And what I said to her, I said, ma'am, you're sitting on a British coat of arms. That makes this a British court. We had a bit of a discussion about it. In the end, she said, well, what do you know about the British coat of arms? I said, well, you want to start at the top of the bottom. Okay, we start at the bottom. Joint my droit, my God, my right. I told her where it comes from out of Exodus. The top inscription. I told her what it meant, where it comes from out of the bottom. I said, the shield's got the harp of David, the line of Judah, the 3 rampant lines of Judah, each representing 2 of the tribes of Israel. You know, the helmet of salvation, the tongues of fire, the line of Judah again on the top of the whole, all the colours, this is what that means. I said, yeah, man, I understand it, do you? It means that this is a British court. That's what it means. Okay?
Saxburg Goths all claim Jewish descendants.
Absolutely. Yep.
All the royal families of Europe.
Yep, they all. It's all Jewish. It's the Egemen Jews. The same ones that put Christ to the stick, mate. Same. But I'll tell you what happened. When I challenged them on the British coat of arms, I said, no court in this country that's got that coat of arms is going to have jurisdiction over me. I'll read you what happened. As soon as practicable, but in any case within 3 years, that is not later than the 2nd of March 2007, any royal coat of arms on any document, seal or other object are to be removed and replaced with the New South Wales coat of arms. That was the law they passed immediately after we jammed them on it. Because I said to them, man, whatever you sit on that British coat of arms, you've got no jurisdiction, don't you?
So there was federal law or state law that changed straight away?
Oh, state law. Change the state law straight away. The federal law's got nothing to do with me, mate. It's got nothing to do with anyone.
How can we ensure that it's changing for the better of us, or like?
Hey, listen, mate. Be rest assured of one thing: if the government is changing a law, they're doing it to fuck you, not to fix you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. In regards, if they come up with a republic and a new constitution, how are we going to affect that?
Well, it's all fiction. That's all you need to know.
I like the system we have now. Once you comprehend it, they'll leave you alone. But if we go to a republic, I never trust a politician yet, because they always sort of take you around and around in a circle and you never get to the point where you ask.
But the bottom line is it's still lack of authentic authority. Yeah. It doesn't matter what they do.
Just 2 wrongs don't make a right.
Yeah.
No matter what, they don't. I'm not agreeing to any government that wants to try and rule over this country. Me, and I'm a native of this country because I was born in it, whether people like it or not. I come from the ground. Whether they like it or not, I can't escape it. Even if I go overseas, I come from this country. And I'm not going to abide by any of their rules, because it's lies and deceit. They want to control me. They want to keep me a slave. And if you want to know about slavery, go watch Amazing Grace. That'll tell you what happened with slavery in England.
And that's what I think the beauty of what Mark is here. We don't turn up sounding too silly or that in court, or looking too silly when we present our cases.
Well, they look silly.
If we arm ourselves up properly here, the other thing is we're letting the government, we're not sleeping no more. We listen to your shit, and that now it's time for the people to start taking a bit of power.
They know that millions of people are waking up.
And to question this law, to question this authority that's put on you all the time.
If anyone wants to know, Mark gave a lecture about 3 weeks ago up at the Elders meeting, and we took I took 2.5 hours of video uncut, like raw footage. It's now on YouTube, so if you're interested in pointing other people to this information, it's there, warts and all. 2.5 hours of it. And this will go up to
10-minute pieces.
No, 2.5 hours.
I'll tell you something that's very interesting though. If you can get a copy of the transcript of Marbo 2, and all you need is the second last day of the hearing and the last 20 minutes of the second last day, where the judges said, if you remove reference to the issue of sovereignty from your client's claim, we will grant them native title. And I'll tell you something else. If you stand firm on the issue of sovereignty, no court in this country can determine the matter. Because the High Court of this country, which has eminent jurisdiction in respect of constitutional challenges, cannot look behind the Constitution. Why? Because its authority stems from that document, so it can't say what's behind it. Okay? It can only look that way. And what's behind it is a truck smash.
Once I went to court and I had the sovereignty team, different than you, what I've learned recently. Anyway, I gave it to him, And they basically says, well, it's true. If you're a sovereignty or a king of your own body or a sultan, king of another country or something like that, you're above the law. There is no ifs, buts about it. This is what a judge said. You're above the law. But then in the next breath, he says you've got to prove it.
No.
This is. No,
he's got to disprove it.
I'm serious.
No. If you make a claim in a court, right, you make a claim. It is for the other party to dispute. It is not for you to prove.
I know what you're saying, but I've got the documents turned around and says I have to. He thinks go to the what was it, Foreign Affairs Minister or something, but there could be other ways. He said it's lies that he said. The whole of it.
Mark, on a mouthful, because there is a lot of dope smokers around in the town, the laws about dope. What do you think is a good angle at coming? If you're a dope smoker and stuff like, I keep telling Balder,
hang on, we've got to stop. Section 116 of the Constitution states that the Commonwealth cannot legislate in respect of religious beliefs and observance of religious beliefs.
See, and I believe, it doesn't matter what you do to me, it's not, I don't believe that smoking this herb will be harmful, or it's wrong, or
No. The Constitution states that if your religious belief says this, they can't interfere with that. Do you believe in the Bible? Because the Bible says that God gave us the seed-yielding herb for our use. End of story.
Which means you don't have to register as a religion then.
Well, what if you want to do register?
As soon as you do that, you're joining in.
Yeah, as soon as you register, you're in their system.
Yeah, it's already there.
Well, wouldn't by saying you're a Christian and swear by the Bible, isn't that?
No, that's their law.
That's their law. You want to try and keep out of there as quick as possible. You want to get out of there as quick as possible. If you can, stay out of the bloody courts. Because, let's put it this way, there's three things that's going to happen in that courtroom. You're going to hang yourself, the prosecutor's going to hang himself, or the judge is going to hang himself. Somebody's going to get hung in the court.
Section 116
of
the Constitution.
They run out of court, so they don't run it. So they don't hang themselves. Three Supreme Court judges I've seen running out of court because they don't want to hang themselves.
Because the Constitution says the Commonwealth shall not make any law for establishing any religion, or for imposing any religious observance, or for the prohibiting the free exercise of any religion, and no religious test shall be required as a qualification for any office or public trust under the Commonwealth. Any office or public trust. Excuse me, does the Commonwealth trust me because I'm a pot smoker, or do they not trust me because I'm a pot smoker? Right? Oh, well, we don't trust you because you're a pot smoker. Oh, because it must be a trust thing because they're going to fine you for it. Okay? So my question is, if my Bible says that I have the right to use the seed-yielding herb for my benefit, and I'm a Christian, and just, you don't have to say whether you're Roman Catholic or Calthumpian.
Well, you have to say you've been raised by this Bible and the belief of it.
Mate, it's the same old thing.
Swear on
the Bible. Swear on the Bible. Then they start dwelling in these other laws. Oh, hang on, we'll stop. No, I just swore on this law here.
Yeah.
What's that?
God's law.
You know? This one's higher than that one.
But what if you don't go to the Bible anyway? What if you don't go to the Bible?
Yeah. But see, you shouldn't have to be a rascal.
Well, you have to rather get locked up for swearing on the Bible.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe.
You can't, you have to, you couldn't change that.
Affiliated with a recognised religion.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah?
Do you have to have it written beforehand that this is what you believe?
So maybe the main word here is the word consent. Maybe, it's all about what we consent.
But see, where we fuck up is that we put a little piece of paper in a ballot box every couple of years, and then we leave it to the dick brains to make all the mess. And what we should be doing is, excuse me, no, you've got that wrong. Huh? I give notice to Ian Causley before the last election that I wanted him to raise certain issues in the Parliament for me. He said, oh, no, I can't do that because the backroom boys won't allow it to happen. I said, oh, can I have their names? Because I'm going to have them charged. I'm going to get the federal coppers to go around and charge them. He said, what for? I said, interfering with my political liberty. That's a crime under the Crimes Act, 1914, Section 28, I guess. But there's a few other things. When you start taking them on, they'll wheel you into court and they'll say you're trying to sabotage the Constitution. They'll say you're being seditious and that you're undertaking seditious acts and that you're uttering seditious words or you're doing this or you're da-da-da. What you need to remember is Section 24F of Crime Act. Because it's a howler. Fucking fucks them badly, mate. And what it says is, and you'll love this, now the preceding provisions of this Act state you can't utter seditious words, you can't undertake seditious practice, you can't sabotage the Constitution, blah, 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 right? Nothing in the preceding provisions of this part makes it unlawful to A, endeavour in good faith to show that the Sovereign, the Governor-General, the Governor of a State, the Administrator of a Territory, or the advisors of any of them, or the persons responsible for the government of another country, has or have been, is or are mistaken in any of their councils, policies or actions. And it's not unlawful to point out in good faith errors or defects in the government, the constitution, the legislation or administration of justice of or in a Commonwealth, the Commonwealth, the State or Territory of another country, with a view to the reformation of those errors and defects. And it is not unlawful to excite in good faith another person to attempt to procure by lawful means the alteration of any matter established by law in the Commonwealth, the State, Territory or another country. It is not unlawful to point out in good faith in order to bring about their removal any matters that are producing or have a tendency to produce feelings of ill will or hostility between different classes of persons. Right.
Is that the Crimes Act?
Yeah.
Did you say?
Yeah.
Crimes Act 9.
And there's sedition, treason, treachery.
Yeah.
All the judges doing it.
Yep. Oh, my favourite. These are some documents a couple of emails that were sent to the Privy Council. This was sent on the 14th August 2003 at 1 minute to midnight. I would like to view the order approved for Council, at Council, appointing the Governor General of Australia, Major General Michael Jeffrey. Please send me the internet instructions, directions on how I can see the relevant documents. Yours sincerely. The response, which came back at 1:20 a.m. August 19th. I'm sorry, but there is no order for this appointment. That's from the Privy Council Secretariat, Privy Council Office, 2 Carlton Gardens, London. Right? We then said, well, if he wasn't lawfully appointed, could you please provide the same documents in respect of Australian Governors Sir Ninian Stevens, William Hayden, William Dean and Peter Hollingworth? Please tell me if the orders were approved in Council and that they were made, appointing the above Australian Governors General, if so, which ones and dates they were made, blah, 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 blah. I'm sorry, there are no appointments, no orders for these appointments. Last 5 Governors General have not been lawfully appointed. Like I said, John Howard appointed the last one. Our current Governor General was appointed by John Howard. Now how can a little man who has no ties to the royal family other than he's a skirt lifter for the Queen, how can he give a royal capacity or a regal capacity to someone who is a Governor General a Major General in his armed forces? How does that happen?
So it's a token gesture of some sort.
It's fiction. It's legal fiction, you know. But it's really simple. My aim is not to pull Australia to pieces and watch it fall in a pile. That's not what I want. I got kids and grandkids, mate. It's the last thing I want. But I'll be fucked, pardon me, if I'm going to allow my kids to grow up in a society where they're that shit scared of doing something wrong without knowing what right and wrong is, right? That they can't exist peaceably in their own mind. Because that's where Australians are. You're driving up the road, mate. Do you know, I'll give you a perfect example. In 5 states in America, they removed the speed limit for 6 months. What happened was that the rate of fatal and other accidents decreased incredibly. And at the end of it, all but one of those states raised their speed limit from 55 to 75 mile an hour. You know what the biggest realisation was by all drivers that were surveyed? They said, I feel safer because I'm constantly watching the road, I'm not watching my speedo. Right? Now, you check yourself. How often do you look down at your speedo and you see, by the time you sort of look down, look up, and things have changed? Exactly. Well, I don't look at my speedo, not because sometimes I drive quick, sometimes I drive slow, but I drive according to the conditions. And mate, I travel up and down the highway. I do a trip to Sydney. I know. I've been doing a trip to Sydney for the last 12, 15 years at least once a week. And I cannot, apart from being pulled over coming out of Newcastle on the 31st of March this year, 30th of March, it was a Sunday, 30th I think it was, this year, I got pulled over, I passed a unmarked police hired child car, and when I put my driving lights on, he put his lights on and pulled me over. I thought, all right. He came up to me, he said, mate, he said, what lights you got in the front of this? And I said, they're only Narvas, they're an expensive light, but they're a Narva, but they're the best they make. I said, why is that? Because I was going fuck with them. No? He said, mate, I've got a four-wheel drive. He said, I've got driving lights on, but they're nothing like that. And we had a chat inside the road for 15 minutes. That's the last time I got pulled up by the police. I haven't had a licence for 10 years.
What sort of speed are you talking about?
I was only 110, 120 maybe. You know, but it's immaterial. The speed limits, mate, we've got a speed limit of 60 mile an hour, 100 kilometres an hour, right? That was set back in the days when FC Holdens were running around dirt roads, for fuck's sake. We've got cars today that will comfortably cruise at 200 kilometres an hour, right? My car that's out the front, I'll sit your ass in it, mate. I'll take you between here and Lismore faster than you on your life. But my cars are all pretty well maintained. You know, and I like a car, I put my foot in the brakes, I know I'm going to stop. If I'm going to turn into a corner, I know I'm going to go around it. Okay? And I maintain my cars pretty well. You know, like I build some pretty old vehicles, that's what I do pretty much, I was doing for a living. You know, I built, last hot rod I built for a bloke was insured for $380,000 when we finished it. So, you know, I built some pretty wild stuff. And I don't think that I should be limited to this speed. And this is where this responsibility as a sovereign comes into it. I shouldn't be limited as to what I can do. If I know my car's safe and I can see, you know, a copper sitting in the bushes with a radar gun off the side of the road and he gets you for doing 10 k's over, 15 k's over the speed limit, that's bullshit. You're on the road, you're by yourself, your car's perfectly safe, you're a competent driver, there's no one else on the road. Why can't you do 120 kilometres an hour? The car's built for it, the roads are built for it. Oh no. No, you can't do that because we'll miss out on a fine. You know? Mate, I'll tell you something about, and I raised this in court, and I'm sorry to talk out of topic, but I got done for speed and I took it to court and said, you're right. Statistically speaking, the faster you drive, the less likely you are to have an accident. Right? You have a look at the fatality statistics for holiday periods and you'll find that when more people are booked for speeding, there are less fatalities. So when people are out there going quick, there's less people getting killed. Why? Because when you, and there's been studies done, you're doing 100 kilometres along the road, mate, you're going to get tired. Yeah? Because it's boring. It's boring as shit. Right? But if you're sitting on your 120 or 130 on a good bit of road, it's invigorating because you keep yourself alive.
The difference between riding a motorcycle and a car.
Well, mate,
you get bored on a bike, you're dead.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pay attention.
Yeah. You know?
There's weird things that they say on the thing, it's an offence against the state when you ask them then to bring the state to court.
Yeah, bring the state in, tell me how, let the state tell me, oh, but I'm a representative of the state. Oh, you are you? Can you prove that at law? You know, can you prove the state legally exists? You know? There's a whole bunch of
fines to get.
I'm not about a lawless society because we need laws. We need.
Well, there's always been a law.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah. You know. See, we need to be fair with ourselves, and that's part of stepping outside their jurisdiction. Is that you then step into to this other jurisdiction, which is this here. You know, this is the only jurisdiction, as far as I'm concerned, that means anything to me. Because if my peers are dissatisfied with my behaviour, fuck the court. If my peers are dissatisfied with my behaviour, I've done something wrong. Not because that word and that sentence says I did something wrong, but because my community said, hey Mark, hey, next time you come through town, you don't come through town at 100 kilometres an hour, eh? Right? Simple as that.
You shit your own nest.
Yeah, exactly right, mate. Because I'll tell you now,
but it's not just that, what he's saying, his peers.
That's what I'm saying, you're shitting your own nest.
See,
yeah, but not the guy in town telling you, you know, oh, you shit in the nest, or not this separate, who is not a part of your community and not a part of your peers.
Exactly.
You know, that's very important.
See, I'll ask you
a question.
If a judge is going to judge me shouldn't that judge be part of my community? Not some prostitute who's sold his soul to the highest bidder. You know, it's like this thing they say, oh, in Australia we've got a separation of powers between the government and the courts. Fucking bullshit. Who appoints the judges on the bench? The government. Yeah? Ah. And let's have a look. David, what was that guy's name, that judge? You know, he was on the bench and he was protected, but he necked himself because of pedophile allegations. Yeah.
So taking into consideration everything that's been said, there's a huge difference. There's divine law, there's Great Spirit's law, and there's man's law, and they're completely different and different grounds. It helps to know all this is incredibly helpful and useful, but if we know it's just a game, we know it's just a big show. If we work in the realm of Great Spirit, it's the highest power. We're talking about what's the highest power.
Yep.
Love is the highest power.
Exactly.
So while it helps to know this, as soon as we go onto their level, we have just lowered our level, and because the vibration of that is so different to what human beings are, what we are, and what we're capable of.
Yeah.
If we use the power of prayer and ceremony, I believe that's what will change the world, and I have a vision to gather people together and engage in prayer and ceremony to change the world in that way. I see that's going to change the world.
I agree with you on two counts.
This is going to integrate it and change the world on a really practical level.
Yeah, exactly.
But we are so far above their law, and yeah, it's time, because we're tired, we're fed up. We've been waiting a long time. It's like they've had their show, and
it's over.
The world's changing anyway, but we've got to come into conscious alignment with the change. We are moving into the era of peace. That's happening.
Yeah.
And if we align ourselves with it, we just command. They step down, they're finished.
And that comes by having taken personal responsibility for our own actions, which is a sovereign act.
Exactly. See, you can't. I agree totally with what you're saying. Okay, on two counts. First of all, the ultimate sovereign law is that of God, the Creator, whatever term you want to put on the Spirit. Right? The other reason is that it's not possible for us as a collective of individuals to administer ourselves, because God's not going to turn around and every time you cock up, He's going to go, "Well, Mark, I shouldn't have done that." That's not going to happen. But what He does do, He talks through here, because He's instilled in me. Because the Spirit in me is a chunk of Him, and I know when I do something wrong, and I don't need to be told by someone sitting on a bench, "Oh, you're a naughty little boy." "Ah, yes, Your Honour, but I'm not a pedophile." You know what I mean? That's about the size of it, you know.
Yeah.
And I take offence to someone who's lifting little boys' skirts up, sitting on a bench in a frock, telling me that I'm being a goose. Like, hang on, mirror, sir. You know? With all due respect.
Did anyone hear about when they got a bunch of people to go to Washington DC and meditate, and the crime rate went like this down? So this is what I see we can do on a massive scale, and not a whole system will crumble like that. We can watch it crumble in front of our very eyes.
Absolutely.
It is the most powerful thing.
And the truth is most powerful. Last year I was talking to some of the Maori leaders, and everyone's heard of the Treaty of Waitangi, but I'd never seen it. And I sat down and I read through it and I said, "Mate, have you guys ever bothered to read this?" And they said, "Yeah, we've got solicitors that have read it." I said, no, I don't mean look at it and interpret it. I mean, have you read what it says? Because the interpretation is immaterial. What it says is that on the 26th of October every year, you guys have got the right to hand to the Governor-General when he comes out for his afternoon barbecue, like he's done since 1840 every year, on the 26th of October, you have the right to hand to him your writings that you want to be acts of the Parliament. Alright, so one of the things they did last year was handed to the Governor-General of New Zealand a document, and the document was a draft bill. The bill was an act to recognise the sovereignty of the Indigenous people of the continent of Australia. Now, once we get 3 nations of the UN that acknowledge and certify by law that they acknowledge our sovereignty, the UN has to acknowledge our sovereignty. under international law. Now, there's another interesting document I've got here that Australia is a party to. And this was a UN declaration from 27 November 1961. And Australia, it sort of goes through as a mindful of the determination proclaimed by the peoples of the world in the Charter of the UN, blah, 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 bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. And this is called the Declaration on the Granting of Independence for Colonial Countries and Peoples. Right? Now, listen to this one. And we are convinced, this is the UN, we are convinced that all peoples have an inalienable right to complete freedom, the exercise of their sovereignty, and the integrity of their national territory, and we solemnly proclaim the necessity to the bringing a speedy and unconditional end to colonialism in all its forms and manifestations. To this end, we declare, 1, the subjection of peoples to alien subjugation, for example, Australians to British law. Domination and exploitation constitutes a denial of fundamental human rights, is contrary to the Charter of the UN, and is an impediment to the promotion of world peace and cooperation. 2, we declare that all people have the right to self-determination. By virtue of that right, they freely determine their political status and freely pursue their economic, social and cultural development. 3, we declare that inadequacy of political, economic, social or educational preparedness should never serve as a pretext for delaying this independence. 4, all armed action or repressive measures of all kinds directed against dependent peoples, for example, Aboriginal peoples in this country could be classified as dependent on the state. All armed action or repressive measures, for example, the intervention, of all kinds directed against dependent peoples shall cease in order to enable them to exercise peaceably and freely their right to complete independence, and the integrity of their national territory shall be respected. Immediate steps shall be taken in trust and non-self-governing territories and all other territories which have not yet attained independence to transfer all powers to the peoples of those territories without any conditions or reservations, in accordance with their freely expressed will and desire, without any distinction as to race, creed or colour, in order to enable them to enjoy complete independence and freedom. Any attempt aimed at the partial or total disruption of the national unity or the territorial integrity of a country is incompatible with the purposes and principles of the Charter of the UN. And all states shall observe faithfully and strictly the provisions of the Charter of the UN, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and the present declaration on the basis of equality, non-interference in the internal affairs of all states, and respect for the sovereign rights of all peoples in and their territorial integrity. So, the Aboriginal peoples of Australia, or the Aborigine peoples, are a particular people. We do have a particular place. We all have our national area. We're recognised worldwide as a particular people. So we have a right under that to tell the government, sorry, you signed on to this, so you keep it. And that's why I was really rapt when the Pommy signed on to the Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. They signed on because the British Parliament said they feared that because of all the blackfellas that have come in from the colonies over the last 20 years, that the British, the Anglo-Saxon, white Anglo-Saxon British, are scared that they're going to lose their culture and heritage. What a fucking hell. You know what I mean? So that's why they did it. Now, on that basis, if we applied to the EU, on the basis of we want a declaration on 2 points. We want a declaration from the EU as to whether or not their law, being an act to constitute the Commonwealth of Australia, can have lawful effect against Aboriginal and non-Aboriginal sovereign Australian citizens, number 1, to which they have to respond, no, it does not have application. And number 2, we ask them, do they support the forcing of the British nation to remove the application of its law under their jurisdiction from our land? There's a half a dozen different actions that are all just going to go at once. And mate, you talk about too many fires to dance around, mate, they're not going to know what to do.
When do you reckon this is all going to happen?
Well, I was hoping it would have been sort of started by now, but
I can't see them rolling over this. I mean, you know, they'll just drop a bomb on this town, mate. Really, they just drop a bomb on the place. That's what they're doing in Iraq.
Well,
What, on their own people?
Of course they will.
They'll do it to other peoples, I think. They've been doing it to other people for long. I think in America, the scenario, they sent the army in there to stop a riot or people in the town. The army, fuck this, we're not turning guns on our own mob.
yeah, exactly.
They would do it.
do that.
They couldn't do it.
Think of Miracle, think of Oklahoma, think of the Twin Towers.
Yep.
Look at all these soldiers now, they're coming back radiated from Iraq and Afghanistan. More than 2 million kilograms of depleted uranium were spread there.
And that's so fantastic.
They don't survive that long.
It's so really good because
More than
they're creating
2
people who won't go to war
kilograms.
anymore. They're not even looking after their own people, so they won't go. They
Like
won't
I say,
be
the other day, there's more people than... We've always said in the hippies, there's more people than police. Like, all the police here they want, there is always more people than police.
Right. The bottom line is there are going to be repercussions from their actions that they can't see.
For sure.
But they,
Now, the universe has to balance itself.
We've got two options. We've got two options. We either stick our head up our arse and get rooted by the system, or we stand up firm and say, look, enough's enough.
Yeah. I think that.
And I, for one, do not like the taste of shit.
No.
Not that I've ever tasted it.
Doesn't matter how much sugar they put on it.
Yeah, and I won't be sticking my head up.
okay, so the best
So
thing.
what do you think, Al? What would you think then? If it's all fucked and we're going to be buying it?
I'm very interested in what he's saying.
Yeah, do you have an alternative or a suggestion?
Now,
or?
no, it's just so far as it,
I'm just
I like the reaction
I'm
from
asking
power.
a question, that's all.
Yeah,
I'm Australian, but I'm Irish, right? And
Yeah.
I've had the English sitting on me for fucking 800 to 1,000 years, mate.
Yeah.
Right?
And my mum says I envy anybody who can stand there and openly fight your fucking enemy daily, rather than have to walk around asleep and live with them. You know, to stand there and fight your enemy openly. I come from the mouths of a 70-year-old woman. Never raised hand anyone, mate. Except for a few of the kids.
They've got despicable plans.
oh yes.
But whether they can implement them is another
And
thing.
it's up to us now.
Yeah.
This is, you know, it's probably up to us now to go and spread this information out to as many people as we can.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, well, another thing. There's apparently a lot of people who think that you can't record phone calls. Okay? This is the best piece of advice you're going to get all night. If you record phone calls or conversations, you can have a field day in court. Seriously, mate. You ask someone a question and you've got them on tape, and you ask them a question, they say, no, I didn't say that. Say, excuse me, you want to have a listen to this? Now I'll ask you again. What did you say? I had a government official that I did that to, sort of. And I did it again against a solicitor, and we were in court a couple of months ago, and this solicitor jumped up and down because she said the court should not allow me to use a recording of her and myself having a conversation because it was unlawful for me to record the conversation under the Telecommunications Act. So I just said to her, the barrister that was representing the solicitor, I said, well, can you wheel that out? Can you bring out the Telecommunications Act? He said, no, it's all good because I've got a copy here.
Did you do it over the phone? Or in person?
No, this is in court.
It's in court?
I said,
When did you record it? Was it over the
I was
phone?
over the phone. And I said,
Right.
and I said,
meant to record two people.
hang on, I'll explain to you in a second. And I said, you know, I did it in court, mate. I said, there's the Telecommunications Act. Find that section you referred to. So I think you're misleading the court. I said, but I'll read the law that I relied upon. The Listening Devices Act, Section 5, Part 1B says, a person shall not use or be caused to use a listening device to record a private conversation to which the person is a party. Right? And you obviously can't record a conversation you're not a party to. Right? That's what Section 1 says. 1A.
Didn't you just say...
But, hang on. But what it says here is, it's very interesting, that Section 1B, which says you can't record your own conversations, does not apply to the use of a listening device by a party to a private conversation if all of the principal parties to the conversation consent expressly or impliedly to the listening device being so used, or a principal party to the conversation consents to the listening device being so used, so I can consent to it being used, and the recording of the conversation is reasonably necessary for the protection of the lawful interests of that party.
What was that? You can protect yourself.
Yeah. You what? You can make a recording of a conversation you're a party to protect your legal interests. And as I said to the solicitor, not only have I got you recorded, I can prove that you've perjured yourself before the court. Now, do we proceed? Or do we proceed on the understanding that what I'm saying is true? So, and the question was, do I proceed to destroy you by playing a recording and prove that you've perjured yourself, or can we just proceed on the understanding that we both know that it happened?
So you blackmailed her right there.
In front of the judge.
The local coppers told me the other day down here that I couldn't video them. I could video them, but not their audio.
Oh, yes, you can.
Kelly was lacking it when I said, Kelly, that's bullshit. I said, I'm using this for protection of police verbal. I said, you stood in court and lied to have charges against me. I said, and I couldn't come back with anything because I didn't have it recorded. I said, this is very... Yeah, I said, I'm using this so that you can't bullshit in court no more. If I call you a stupid bitch, then you write it down.
Yeah, well, that's why the Act actually says a listening device. Okay? Now, a listening device, the fact that it may have an ancillary function of recording the video as well is immaterial. So yes, you can record.
Protect yourself.
Absolutely.
Well, that's what I told her. I was using it to protect myself. For the simple fact that she had
asked her to
knowledge.
get a confession on the phone to do with the matter of sexual abuse, and they listen it.
And they'll use it in
So the police asked her to do that.
Yep.
And-
Yep.
Yeah.
See, so like you got to remember, like our blue isn't with the police because the police are generally guys out there and women out there. They're doing a job, you know, except for the high up trial. And you know, mate, I even talk to a local copper who's honest with you and ask him what he thinks of the high up trial. Yeah. The high up trial and casino have got their own office in the police station. The other coppers won't talk to them. You know,
Money harvest. Well, we've actually got a local copper down home. Jake Buckley is now a local copper. Used to be highway patrol. I didn't tell you all about it.
No.
Harvesters of money.
Yeah, that's it. You know, he stood me up on the side of the road one day, and Jake's a big boy, he's what, 6'4"?
he's a mammoth.
Monster. He stood me up on the side of the road one day, mate, and I just give it to him. You know? And I was with my eldest brother, and then he turned to my eldest brother, he said, what do you feed him? Fucking raw meat. And my brother said, nah. He said, what's his problem? He said, he just don't like you blokes. You know? This guy was going to lock me up because I was driving on the road. When the big fires went through down near Serendipity at Tabby Mobile, we were taking a generator down. There was 8 families down there, brought their houses burned out. We were taking a generator down so that they could at least watch a bit of TV. You know, the kids could have something to do, watch a bit of TV or lights of a night. You know, there was only a little generator. And he said, "No, you're not allowed to be on the highway. The highway's closed." I said, "Well, you're fucking driving on the road, are you?" He's like, "I'm a police officer." I said, "Yeah, but I'm an owner." You know, no one's come and asked me for what the road closed. He said, "Oh, well, you know, under the law." So hang on. The law's created by the government, and I own the government, so I can override that. So sorry, this is like a community thing. What I'm doing here is for the community. You know, I said, I see the blue shirt, mate. I can understand why you don't understand what community is. You know, and you know, mate, it was a fairly ding dong sort of disagreement on the side of the road. You know, but Jake knows where I come from, and he knows what I stand for, and you know, he doesn't not lock me up when I do something wrong, you know, because I don't do anything wrong, but he's got a job to do, and I understand where he's coming from, but I'm still not going to be stood over and told I can't do something that's legitimately right.
Mark, could you explain in very simple terms for the people in the whole process of this, explaining what it is, the ownership of your corporate name, the corporate name, how you go about that, where the documents go.
Right, I'll put it in simplistic terms, as simple as I can put it. But it's not literally this simple, but it's not far off it. Okay? And just to put it in layman's terms, without all the junk. When you're born, the government gets your mum to sign a birth certificate. And what that does is it establishes the corporate entity, which is yourself. The government then creates a trust account under that name, and they put money in that account, and that account just sits there, accrues interest during your lifetime. When you die, because you don't know it's there, it goes back to consolidated revenue. Okay? But the cock-up is that because the account's created in your name and you're the beneficiary of the trust account, you have lawful right of access. But because your corporate person can't access it because a corporation can't do anything, because you've got to remember, even BHP cannot do jack shit. That's the people that work in BHP that do it, right? So what you do is you then create an agreement between yourself and your corporate being. Your corporate being gives the power of attorney and right of agency over the corporate to the human. The human can then register, you register that agreement and a truth affidavit. Now, a truth affidavit, all you do is you say that I, the corporate, have given authority to the person, the human, to exercise right of agency and power of attorney over my affairs. And then you have another truth affidavit that says I, the human, accept the agency over and power of attorney over my corporate's affairs. Those documents and a couple of little ones get sent to America. They get filed with the Superior Court in America under the UCC rules, and you then have power of attorney with a registered commercial agreement over your corporate person. You then, as the agent for the corporate person with power of attorney over his goods, chattels and assets, receive a bill in his name, right, in the capital letters. So you put the information on that, you send it back to the bank or wherever, and tell them, go to the Department of Finance and get the trustee of the account, Dr. Ken Henry, to write a cheque and pay that, please, out of my trust account.
Telephone bill.
My brother's just sent the paperwork off to pay $190,000 off his mortgage.
Mortgages, any debt. But you can't put money in your pocket.
No, not at the moment. But we've now got. There's a lady in South Australia, Victoria, who's figured out how to attach a chequebook to the account and a credit card.
Can the credit card continue, or is it wiped off after you paid it?
Well, when you pay it, the account still stands, so the card's still valid until it expires.
So how much? Oh, sorry, I was going to say, how much would the average person have in their account?
My understanding, I don't know exactly, but my understanding is that when I was born, I had somewhere around the £300,000 to £400,000 deposited in the account.
And how much is that now?
8.5% per annum, wasn't it?
I don't know, but there were some pretty ugly times during the 80s that we were all fretting about that done us good. I don't know the exact figure, but I was told in the high tens of millions in my account at the moment.
What's that? Everybody or just you?
Oh, everybody.
Everybody got a secret account somewhere.
Because when you die, you've got a will. If you've got a will, only the things that are mentioned in that will. You leave your car to him, your house to Fred, your bathtub to this lady, and your chooks to that lady, and da-da-da. But you don't leave your money to anyone. So it goes back to consolidated revenue, doesn't it?
Why did they start in the first place?
Because back in the old days when we used to have valuable coins like gold and silver, if you have a look at a really old American $1 bill, you'll see where it comes from. It says redeemable for gold. Right? When they took the gold off the people, they had to replace something. And what they had to replace, people had the capacity back then to get themselves out of default, financial default. So when they took the gold off the people, they had to put in place a mechanism whereby they could eliminate the default.
They'll be debt free.
They didn't have to tell you what it was.
No.
They just had to make sure it was there.
Yeah.
And your set-off account is the means whereby you can set off your default.
Right.
But they won't tell you that.
So they did it through the birth certificate. So by registering each person's birth was their thing saying that these people.
Well, that's how they've eventually set it up. Yeah.
So we can access this money to pay off.
If we know how.
If you know how.
If you know how.
It's a bit of
Do you know anyone that has achieved it?
Yeah. That's it's not like an airy fairy thing.
We just recently done the paperwork for my brother, and the day before yesterday he sent the letter to the bank to asking them for what's called a real bill. As soon as he gets that back, he puts on the bottom of that I, Anthony McMurtrie, the agent for Anthony McMurtrie, because Anthony with a capital A, small NTH, right? As the agent, give authority to the trustee of this account to pay you this much money.
What happens if you become like sovereign, or you declare sovereignty? Does that make a difference?
Well, you're still the same person. You're still a sovereign person. The corporate entity stays there. You own it.
What about if you never? What about if you have a child and you don't register them? What happens?
Well, there's no account.
You don't have birth certificate.
But how do they pursue that sort of?
Sovereign,
the sovereign is not having to register that sort of thing.
Yeah, but if you don't have a birth certificate, there's obviously no account created.
You can't enrol your child.
So it's easier.
You can't enrol that child in school. You can't take that child for medical services. Yeah, I did it with my child.
And then you pay a lot of money to get one later on.
They penalise.
No, it's the same.
No, you just have to register the child.
Yeah. You just can't move if you don't.
Well, to a degree.
Yeah, well.
To a degree.
Yeah.
You know. See,
That's right.
It's a balancing act. Every time they take something off you over here, they have to replace it here, right? When they take a right off you over here, they have to put something over here to counterbalance it, right? They really do. But they tell us about, they don't even tell us about these ones, you know, but they'll never tell us about these ones.
Which kind of makes sense, as you said the other week, about the fact that this is why the state doesn't mind topping people.
No. I'll tell you, why do you think at this point in time we've got so many old people in our community that are getting to the point where they're going to kick the bucket only for the sake of a little bit of health care? And why doesn't the government want to pump millions of dollars or billions of dollars into health care? Let's say over the next 5 years we lose 500,000 old people. Fuck me, they're going to have some cash in their accounts, aren't they? Where's that go? Straight back into consolidated revenue.
So, would that be on the books of the government somewhere? If we wanted to have a look, someone wanted to have a look at the government books, it'd have to be there somewhere.
It has to be on the record, but the problem is they would suggest to you that those documents are privileged.
Suggested.
Yeah.
In other words, bluff.
Yeah.
Yeah. As I said to one government official that tried to say that certain documents were privileged and I couldn't see them, I said, oh, who owns the documents? He said, oh, well, the Commonwealth owns the documents. I said, have you ever read the Constitution, mate? He said, yeah. I said, well, do me a favour. Read the Constitution, read the preamble to the Constitution in the next half hour and I'll be able to pick the documents up. I am the Commonwealth. Give me my fucking paperwork.
Right. So getting back to a grassroots thing, like if someone doesn't, what is it for whooping cough, give the kids the shots, and then they get refused, not allowed to go to school, you can demand that they go to school if you want.
Oh yeah,
They can't even do
conscientious objectives.
All those sort of things. You know when they say, when you haven't jumped through the hoop, and then they say, okay, well we're not going to let you do this.
Kids that haven't been immunised, if you've got a kid that hasn't been immunised, the school will say, well, we'll not let you into school because you haven't been immunised.
Yeah, they say that, but you can sign a
They can't,
conscientious
I've done it
objectives
with-
form,
with
and they have to let your kids into school.
Yeah.
I've done it.
Mind you,
The
the
thing is, I
state's
thought all
right now.
kids were immunised and they'd be safe if the kid wasn't. They were not immunised.
Yeah, but the state is threatening in America, certain states are threatening to jail parents who don't immunise. See, what's coming out about immunisation is that it's killing children and harming children. You know, half by weight, some of these vaccinations are thimerosal, which is mercury.
That's like
That's where autism comes from.
But have a look at a lot of the vaccinations are actually carried on a pathogen.
Yeah.
The problem is they can mix in anything.
Huh?
The real problem is they can mix in anything.
Absolutely.
As we know with the women in South
Immunisation is an
Africa.
atrocity, it's poison,
Totally.
it's killing, and it does more harm than
Attack
good.
on humanity.
You stop and think about it. You think that they're creating laws that we have to live by and they won't even let us see them until we've breached them. What do you think they're going to put in the fluid they want to inject in us? You know, what
What about this
I'll bring
insert,
that up, brother.
this RFID insert they're talking about?
Yeah.
I believe a lot of people are having it, and they're talking about making it compulsory and inserting the
They
brain.
can't make it compulsory. It's impossible to pass a law that interferes with your human person.
That's why they haven't done it.
But they can suggest it.
Mate, I would suggest they would fuck.
See, what I like, just the way I see the world is that all this entire system is in the head. It's in the mind. So the era where this whole earth is going to is from the head into the heart.
Sure.
And the heart exists like a little jewelry. Those people, that they're just feeling people. That you try and tell any of them, you try and tell them this, they don't understand a word you're saying because they're in the heart. They're just feeling, and we're all moving into that way of existing, of just feeling. And so when we tap into that power, that's how we're going to change the world, by bringing it here. And even if they don't get it to begin with, they'll just it'll just happen because it's so powerful.
We have to get that far though, to get past this point, to get to there, and they're going to try the whole fear factor thing.
Well, that's how.
And people
All
are
we have
just
to
Fear's
take
not gonna work
it's
anymore.
a choice. We just decide.
Fear's not going to work anymore. It's like
Well, it will maybe not to us, but to others, and people are going to start to go fucking nuts.
that's why the best thing you can do is turn the TV off. Because the TV's a weapon. It's a weapon.
yeah.
Totally. Fear-based weapon. You look at the content on it now compared to 20 years ago, man, it's a whole universe.
Yeah.
It's a horror show, it's a nightmare.
But that's a statement that is wasted on this group of people turning television on. The ones that it should be being told to are the ones that are out there.
Yeah, but they are.
Won't turn the
But
television on.
they are. This internet, millions of people are. It's like Ian Lungold.
There's a real lot of people, because like Mark's saying, because of the internet, that are really getting up to speed on the shit that's going on. I remember 15 years ago, I used to talk to people and they'd say, mate, you're fucked in the head. And the same people now come up to me going, mate, I wish I'd listened to you 15 years ago. I said, well, how about you have a listen now? You know?
It's like Ian Lungold, the 3-hour documentary on the Mayan calendar talks about the fact. And also another bloke, Greg Braden. He's got a thing called 0 point. He's explaining that what's measurable about this planet is that it's increasing its vibration and the magnetic field is dropping. So the stranglehold that, well, basically what it means in very simple terms is this is all vibrating much faster, this planet, and we are. And what's happening is we are starting to vibrate. That's why the system is, at the moment, so manic trying to control everyone, because they're trying to keep a lid on everyone evolving in consciousness.
See,
it's about to crumble.
That's,
it is. It's going to go down.
As Jose Aguirre said, there is this sheath around the Earth called the noosphere. Vernadsky, a Russian scientist, has discovered in the 40s or something. And it is where our thoughts, our collective thoughts are. And we've just got to increase the thought level on what we're talking about and thinking about. And the 100th monkey theory, the one that the thoughts do travel between people, will happen. And this is what it's a critical mass point that we're at now.
Even in the Haris years ago, I was in the Haris for 5 years, and the guru in the Haris at the time said this Western system, Prabhupada said this, he said, this Western system's like a rhinoceros. It has tremendous momentum. It's just been shot in the head, but it'll keep travelling and crashing through the jungle for another mile before it falls over dead. This is what we're witnessing right now.
Yeah, but that other mile could be 5,000 years.
Well, not if it's debating numbers.
Anyway, let's wind up now. Thank you, Mark, for coming tonight. It's fantastic. Really good information.
One thing before I go, this young lady hit it on the head. What is happening now is universal consciousness. We're all starting to wake. Whether we like it or not, there's enough of us that are on the ball that the idiots out there are slowly getting the picture.
The sheep will follow.
You know what I mean? It was like coming out here. It was like coming out here today. I could not believe we come up behind and like I wasn't travelling fast. We come up behind a line of cars. 100 kilometre an hour zone. There's a fucking line of cars. They're all doing 80 kilometres an hour because the dipshit in front's doing 80 kilometres.
And everyone's saying
that's what the world's like. You know, everyone will do their 100 k's until they come up behind someone doing 80, and everyone's going to sit there doing 80. You know what I mean?
Mind you, it is 80 along here, not 100.
No, this is only 100.
Oh, right. Yeah, I know. And they stay in the left lane too, and one of the if they two lanes, people getting more asleep and more asleep.
No, seriously, I found if you go around the corners on 2 wheels, it really saves the rubber.
And you're paying attention.
Oh, shit, yeah.
Only on the other 2 wheels.